I can't seem to avoid buying on Whatnot. What from Whatnot? Let's take a look on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, comic book community. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And in this video, we're going to talk a little Whatnot. We're also going to talk a little bit of Black Adam spec. And if you like the videos, please like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Follow us on Instagram, Bronzeville_comics. On Whatnot, Bronzeville_comics. We do sales every Monday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And also, my eBay store link is in the description below. So we're going to talk a little bit about Whatnot. Now, I've done a couple of videos talking about buying on Whatnot, and it can be a little addictive. You know, it's an app right there on your phone. It's easy to just press the button and buy a book. So I attempt to, not always successful at, but I attempt to be very judicious in my buying. What am I looking for? Is it a deal? And is this something I really want/need? And then once I get the books, part of my process, where do the books go? Now, unfortunately, far too many of them go in these piles here that this is from all different purchases, and I don't even know what. Some from collections. Some are marked to go out. They're up on eBay. But kind of what is my process as to how I'm going through books that I purchase and why do I purchase them? So one of the first books I got was Detective Comics number 438. I think this might be the first appearance of Harvey, is it Harvey Bullock? But basically, my process is I've been trying to slowly, when I see them, I pick them up. If I don't have them, pick up these 100-page super spectaculars. And I really liked the Detective Comics of the super spectaculars because they put the characters whose stories were in here. Now, this is not one of the, to me, the more enticing Detective Comics because it's all kind of Silver Age heroes. There was no kind of obscure Golden Age. This, though, is the Archie Goodwin, Walt Simonson Manhunter run that was in this book. And what I do is, this is a book from January 1973, and I put this in a little Post-it because I don't have it. It goes in my to-read pile. I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading these, but I think I'm going to... I do put this in my to-read pile because I would like to read this book, as I try to read most of the books that I have. Now, a lot of these are duplicates of books I already have. Now, this book I do have to inspect a little more closely, and I believe it was this one. No, maybe I don't have it. Is the Fantastic Four 211, the first appearance of Terrax. Now, what I will do is this will go in probably a CGC pile, at least until I more carefully inspect the book and see if I believe it is in high enough grade to be submitted. Kind of my process now is I think the book has to have a fair market value of either at least $150 or has really strong spec potential. And I might want to get it slabbed or potentially have it in the hopper to be slabbed before it becomes hot. Now, a lot of people have been speccing on Terrax. I have a few copies of this book that I've accumulated. So at the very least, this will go in a spec box. Books that I think will increase in value if the character does come to the MCU. Another book that I just recently picked up, and I'm going to do the same thing with this. It does have some spine ticks, but other than that, it looks pretty good. And this is Captain Marvel 27. This book got really hot, and it does have a little bit of spine wear there, but it's the first full appearance, and first cover appearance of Star Fox. This book really heated up following the release, or right before the release of the Eternals movie, when Harry Styles was revealed to play Star Fox in a post-credit sequence. He's going to be coming back in the MCU, and I think when he gets a bigger role and we see him potentially in a trailer, that book will pop again. If it is a high enough grade to be sent out to CGC, we'll do that. Otherwise, it'll just go in a spec box, and we'll kind of wait to see when we get more news. Now, that particular book came with a freebie. There are a number of sellers that do this, and kind of they threw this Marvel sticker in. Hercules. Look, I have a hangnail. That's kind of cute. But this reprint of, I guess, I'm guessing this is the first appearance of Ronan the Accuser, the True Believers comic. Another book I picked up, and you can see it was mailed to me, Bronzeville. And this is a high-grade copy. It's this Marvel 25th anniversary of X-Men. This is a book that in a 9.8, and I have to check to see if in a 9.6 it might be worth getting slabbed, so it might be worth a pre-screen. Another book that I picked up, just because the price was so low, and this is a book that would have gone for a lot more a couple of months ago, is the 1992 series of Morbius the Living Vampire #1 in its 9.8 white pages, part of the Rise of the Midnight Sun story, and it's a newsstand. I got this for well below fair market value, and this will go in kind of the slab spec, because if Jared Leto comes back as Morbius, and Sony can figure out at all what to do with any of the characters they have, that might be worth it. And, it's a 9.8, so I just spent far too much money. Now, another book that I'm probably going to put in my to-read pile. I do have a copy of this that's kind of beaten up from, I picked up as a kid, I think. And this is a book I want to talk about, this book and the next book. This is The Mighty Isis #1. And this is from 1976, and it's a DC TV comic. And it stars the character Isis. Now, not everyone is familiar with Isis, so just a quick history lesson. DC, Captain Marvel, and all his related characters, Mary Marvel, Captain Marvel Jr., Dr. Savannah, Black Adam, Mr. Mind, were all published in the 1940s by Fawcett Comics. DC, National Periodicals publications at the time, sued Fawcett for breach of trademark, claiming that Captain Marvel was a ripoff of Superman. And DC had been successful in doing this with some other publishers' characters when they had just characters who were pretty close to Superman. And Superman is a pretty standard superhero genre character, template, if you will. And so the battle between the two was in court for a number of years. Finally, after World War II, as the 40s disappeared and the popularity of superheroes waned, in 1943, Fawcett Comics decided to close up shop, no longer fight the legal battle with DC, and no longer publish any superhero comics, specifically Captain Marvel. Now, they also had Mary Marvel, Captain Marvel Jr., Marvel Family. By 1953, all those books had stopped publication. Well, between 1953 and 1973, DC bought the rights to the Fawcett characters, like they had just prior to that when they bought the Quality Comics characters, or in the 1980s when they bought the Charlton Comics characters. Now, there was some legal wrangling with all the characters other than the Marvels in the early 80s, but eventually DC did get the rights to Ibis, Spy Smasher, Bullet Man, Minuteman. Pretty much everybody, they didn't get Captain Midnight, because I believe that was a licensed property. But the main coup was they got Captain Marvel. Now, by this time, Marvel was publishing their own Captain Marvel series, and we just saw issue number 27 a little bit earlier in this video. And Marvel Comics did that to secure the trademark on the character. So when DC published new Captain Marvel stories starting in 1973, it went under the title Shazam, the 6-letter magic word that he would say in order to transform into Captain Marvel. And Shazam #1 came out in 1973, and the character quickly became popular enough to have his own live-action television series on Saturday mornings, and it was produced by Filmation, which was a company that mostly did animated series. They did some live action, and it was geared toward the youth audience, specifically Saturday morning cartoons. They had done some DC superheroes properties in the 60s, including the Aquaman cartoon. They also did the Star Trek animated series in the 70s, and they did a Shazam live action series where Billy Batson traveled the highways and byways of America in a Winnebago with Mentor and solved fairly mundane problems for somebody with the powers of Captain Marvel. Well, Filmation wanted to produce another series. They wanted to produce a Mary Marvel series, but DC was asking too much money for the rights to Mary Marvel. So what Filmation did was they developed their own character, and that character was Isis. It was Isis on the TV show ran for one season. I believe it was 14 episodes. The actress Joanna Cameron, who sadly passed away last year, portrayed the main character. She was a high school science teacher who found an amulet while on an archaeological dig. Her secret identity was Andrea Thomas, and then she transformed into Isis. And a couple episodes, she crossed over into the Shazam TV series. Eventually, the show was rebranded, and it was rerun as the Shazam Isis Power Hour. She was also part of Freedom Force, which was a segment in the Tarzan and the Super 7 animated series in 1978. And then eventually she went away. She was not really referred to, and I don't know exactly where the rights were, but at a certain point in time, DC did acquire the rights to the character. So later on, in the 2000s, they created a new Isis character, and this was a Middle Eastern woman, Andrea Thomas, who eventually becomes the wife of Black Adam, and that's where it links into the movie. We have seen a version of Isis to a degree on the DC Legends of Tomorrow miniseries. Zari Tomaz, who has an amulet and has some similarities to Isis, but really is that's a fairly unique character. And so in the Black Adam movie, Isis will appear. I believe she's going to be playing both the wife of Black Adam back in antiquity in ancient Greece, and also a woman that he meets who looks like his wife in present day. And the actress Sarah Shahi will be portraying Andrea Tomaj, Isis. That's the Black Adam spec. Now, there's a little more Black Adam spec that I picked up. This was not a Whatnot pickup. This was an eBay pickup. I had been kind of eyeballing. This is now the second copy of this book I picked up recently. It is a little bit lower grade, but I thought it was pretty solid. And that is Shazam 28, the first modern appearance in story of Black Adam. Anyway, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is portraying this character. So Black Adam is going to... he's not a one-off villain. He's headlining his own movie. He's going to be, I think, Warner Discovery hopes, a mainstay of the DC Extended Universe. Now, Black Adam's first appearance was in Marvel Family #1 in 1945. And that was a book by Fawcett which contained stories where Captain Marvel, Mary Marvel, and Captain Marvel Jr. all teamed up. Each of them had their own solo series, and each of them were in the pages of an anthology book. Captain Marvel in Wiz Comics, Mary in WoW, and Junior in Master Comics. But in Marvel Family, they all teamed up. And it has, unfortunately, Black Adam is not on the cover of Marvel Family #1. He's defeated by being tricked by Uncle Dudley, the unofficial Uncle Marvel, and who was a comedic character in the series. And that's it. We don't see Black Adam again for decades. Now, he did appear on the cover of Alter Ego #7 in 1964, but it's not... It's a magazine, a fanzine, actually, not a comic book. it was a fanzine created by Jerry Bales and Roy Thomas, and it was the first major fanzine in comic book history. And so there was a text piece on Black Adam within, and there was he was part of the cover art along with the Marvel family. The next time he would see print would be in Shazam number 8, not 28, which I just showed you, but in Shazam number 8, December 1973, which is a 100-page super spectacular that reprinted the story from Marvel Family number 1. It's actually a great read. I read the book to my daughter right before we went to see the Shazam movie when it came out, because it contains a retelling of the origin of Captain Marvel from Savannah's point of view, from I think either a Wiz Comics or Captain Marvel Adventure book in the 40s. It contains the reprint of the origin and first appearance of Mary Marvel and the origin and first appearance of Captain Marvel Jr. So it really sets the stage for all these characters that are in the movie, these characters that now 80 plus years later are coming into the films. So that was in 1974, number 28. About 2.5 years later, in issue number 28, the Black Adam would have his second appearance, his second in-story appearance in a new story, and that's in Shazam 28, which I just showed you. Now, that particular book is going to be in the to go to CGC pile. That book in mid-grade or better is worth getting slabbed. And I have faith in the Black Adam character because he's not going to be a one-off. I think we're going to see a spike, and if the movie is popular, and that's a big question mark with DC, if the movie is popular, then I think the book is going to be a steady climber over time. So that's my haul on Whatnot. And I will say this, people are saying, basically trash DC movies and TV. If you look recently, DC is inconsistent. No question about that in terms of their production. And I think that the industry has gone past what they're doing on the CW, those episodic 20 episodes a year kind of soap operatic TV shows, which were popular, especially with comic book fans at the time. And this was before we had Disney Plus and a lot of other opportunities to see comic book related content. It's gotten surpassed. We've had the Disney Plus series. We have things on Amazon like The Boys and Invincible. And I think the days of those series have passed. And the problem is, since there's a schism between the two series, for instance, they've never been able to use Batman in the Arrowverse. They did finally let them use Superman. Batman was much more limited, and we've never seen Green Lantern. However, think of recent TV and movie properties from DC. Earlier in 2002, we had the Batman, extremely well received, very popular among fans and the general public alike, and it is the breeding ground for HBO Max series, a sequel. We had Joaquin Phoenix winning an Academy Award for The Joker. There's going to, by all indications, there's going to be a sequel. Recent reports have Lady Gaga portraying Harley Quinn in a musical. We'll see. But Todd Phillips really did a great job with that. A movie that was critically acclaimed for mature audiences, but did a very good job. The Peacemaker TV series, on the heels of the Suicide Squad movie, the Peacemaker TV series was a smash hit out of nowhere of an obscure character, which James Gunn seems to be expert at. You look just a couple of years ago, the Watchmen TV series on HBO won multiple Emmy Awards. So DC does have a strong foundation to build on. Now, will they be able to build on that? Are they going to kind of go away from the Snyderverse? And are they going to have somebody cohesive in charge? That's an entirely different discussion. But just to point out that DC is not all garbage. There's been some stuff that's been disappointing. And, Wonder Woman was well received. Aquaman, Shazam, those movies were fairly well received. And I will remind you, if you go back 14 years, the birth of the MCU with Iron Man, clearly Iron Man was not the best superhero movie of 2008. That was Dark Knight, for which Heath Ledger won an Oscar for portraying the Joker. So DC just hasn't gotten everything in order, and they don't have somebody in charge having a cohesive plan like Marvel does with Kevin Feige. That being said, I say it all the time, I'm a DC fan in a Marvel world. You Marvel fans have it over us for now. And that's why I'm buying DC keys. Because you look where everybody else isn't. Now, Black Adam, popular at the time. I've gotten a couple of copies of that Shazam 28 for good deals. If I find Marvel Family #1 for a good deal, I'd be willing to pick that up. But that is like one of my ultimate grails. So anyway, tell me what you think about the books I picked up, the spec. Are you looking forward to the Black Adam movie? Are you familiar with the characters in there? Are there characters you're excited about seeing on the big screen? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos. And this is Jim saying, until next time, enjoy your comics.